Sonic Unleashed is a game that has seen such a big divide between reviewers and fans. When the game first came out, it received wildly different reviews from outlets. Most famously, IGN gave it a 4.8, and on Metacritic, the game sits at a 60, while the user score sits at an 80, with some fans saying that this is their favorite Sonic game. I have been a Sonic fan all my life. My first game as a kid was Sonic 3. The game got me hooked with its fast pace and incredible soundtrack. And while not every Sonic game has been a 10 out of 10, there has been one that has been on my radar, but I have never had the chance to play it until recently. And that is Sonic Unleashed. So I thought to myself, why not, instead of just playing through the game, why not get the Platinum Trophy as well? So I set off on my adventure to finally get my thoughts on this game and hopefully a new Platinum Trophy. So let me start off with my thoughts about the game before I move on to trophies. I've only ever seen gameplay when this game came out, and I thought the daytime stages looked very unique and vibrant with intense high-speed action. And when they showed off the nighttime stages, I was taken back a little. Sonic transforming into a werehog? What is even a werehog? The gameplay though seemed fine. I beat him up like God of War. I thought it looked okay. But it was really only invested in the daytime stages. When I first booted up the game, I was greeted with that sweet CGI opening which still holds up today. The game starts off pretty solid. Each continent has a town with lots of people and a level hub where you have the different stages, but you also have like rings and lives to collect. It's a very interesting and unique. Playing Windmill Isle Act 1, it starts off very good. I thought it was a great opening stage. It was very fun, fast-paced, vibrant. It was really cool. And then I went on to the nighttime stage, and while with some iffy platforming, I didn't have a bad time with it. It did take me about 15 minutes when I was done, but other than being a tad long, it was an okay start to the nighttime stages. As I progressed through the game, visiting other continents, I noticed I was playing more nighttime stages than daytime stages. While the game has two main acts, one day and one night for each continent, the pacing is a little different. Usually in a Sonic game, you play a zone with two acts before you move on to the next zone. However, after the first continent, the game splits up the formula and has you travel to new places to unlock new levels to play. However, they make you do some continents Act 2 before sending you back to doing the Act 1. So each continent has you doing back-to-back nighttime, then go back to a daytime. It's very weird in that way. And like I said, while each continent has a day and night, it feels like you're playing way more nighttime stages than you are daytime stages, because nighttime stages are much longer and sometimes you'd have to play them back to back, while daytime stages are very much shorter. Now, nighttime stages are kind of a mixed bag for me. While I enjoy the combat, the stages overstay their welcome. They're a slog to get through. The most common issue people have with this game is the controls, and I 100% agree. Trying to do platforming is a gamble. Sometimes you get unresponsive jumps that lead to your death, and this is even more apparent when you hit Eggman Land, but I will get to that when I get to that. Combat is never ending. Almost every stage starts with a fight, immediately, and another one right after. To just take a look at the video, you'll see when I reach Jungle Joyride nighttime stage. Not even 5 seconds into the stage, I have to fight, and then 5 seconds later, I have another fight. And if this is your first playthrough of the game, you just assume you have to kill everything without realizing you can actually skip many fights. Enemies are also annoying, specifically fire wizards who will burn you if you touch them, dealing damage over time and sending you off running without being able to control yourself. There's also these stupid hornets with insane amount of invincibility frames. Who thought this was a good idea? I don't know. You can easily die being swarmed with enemies, and there are even moments where if you die to a platforming error, you need to fight the enemies all over again. The overplayed fight music takes up most of the nighttime stage's solid music, but I don't really remember any of the nighttime stage's music because I only hear the trumpets for the boss or for the fight music. But what about the daytime stages? They got some amazing soundtracks, high speed, great action. However, it still has the same awful control issue. Sonic feels like he's constantly on ice. Trying to land on a small platform at a high speed is rough. Another issue is that the homing attack is the same button as the boost, meaning if you lose the lock-on reticle for a split second while trying to hit an enemy, you might accidentally set your soft boosting off to your... The game also ramps up in difficulty a lot. I'm not saying the game should be easy all the way through, but has a bit of leeway. Daytime stages are quick time events that start off simple with 3 button combo presses. That if you fail, you simply go to a lower, slower path. But later stages introduce 6 button combo presses with insane timing and immediate death if you mess up. Heck, even some of the 3 button QTEs lead to death, like in Empire City. The nighttime stages also have QTEs against enemies, but in later stages it's never really worth it because the timing gets insane, and if you mess up, you take damage and they heal. I don't mind if you take damage if you fail, but why do they also have to heal? And it's not a little bit of health, they heal a lot. Eggman Land is the final stage of the game. It is a mix of day and nighttime sections, and it is rough. So many different paths to take, so many places to die. The first section isn't too bad, but the first major hurdle is the sled part, which controls like ass. If you make it past that part, the next major obstacle is the lava room with the werehog. With crappy camera angles, no shadow to see where you're going to drop, leaps of faith hoping that you don't miss and fall into the lava, it is rough. Even after getting past this room, there's still another part with Daytime Sonic that requires you to go through a huge room that requires quick time events that kill you if you fail and precise platforming. All this doesn't include the other parts that might get you killed. This stage took me almost 40 minutes to beat on my first playthrough and over 30 lives as well. Credit where credit is due, they do put a bunch of free lives in your way to not get game overs. As for bosses, the daytime stage bosses are pretty fine. They're alright, I like them. They're just your average endless runners. As for the nighttime bosses, again, not too bad. Really, the only bad one would probably be the Dark Titan, which is just you pushing a bunch of blocks to damage it, which I think is pretty dumb. The best fight here for the bosses is definitely the Eggman fight with Egg Dragoon. That one is easily the best and my favorite. Finally, Dark Gaia as the final boss. This one's a doozy. You have to play as Chip at some part. You have to control Chip very slowly up until you reach Dark Gaia and then smack him in the face. However, Dark Gaia is constantly throwing crap at you and you're constantly taking damage and it's very slow, and when you finally reach him there's a QTE. If you fail that QTE, he knocks you all the way back, which is just pretty much an insta death. Also, you have to play as Sonic as well, and Sonic has these very tight time windows that you have to get to, and they get very, very difficult at the end. It's not really fun until Sonic turns into Super Sonic, which then it becomes pretty decent with awesome music. All in all, a bittersweet adventure. I know I talked a lot of negatives about this game, however, I do think there's a lot of potential here. If any Sonic game deserves a remake or a remaster, it's this one. So many little fixes like tight controls, better cameras, less overstuffed nighttime stages could really elevate this game into something amazing. The potential is there, it just needs more polish. I didn't even talk about how the game runs awful on PS3. That's the version I was playing on because I wanted to get all the trophies. Thankfully, there is a much better running version on the Xbox Series S. So if you're thinking about playing this or getting this game, definitely get it on the Series X. I also didn't even talk about the Sun and Moon medals that are required to open new levels to progress the story. You will be revisiting mostly nighttime stages because you'll definitely not have enough Sun medals. And Moon medals you can get in the daytime stages. However, because you're playing at such a high speed, you'll most likely miss most of them. So honestly, if you are struggling with finding some Sun and Moon medals to progress the game, use a video guide. It's a dumb decision to tie progression to a collectible. I don't know why they did it. Right, this video is getting already way too long, so we're gonna jump right into it. How was my journey to the Platinum Trophy for this game? First of all, there's 51 trophies to get here, including the Platinum Trophy. First thing to do is beat the game. I believe there are 11 story-related trophies, so that's not too bad. I personally did struggle a little bit my first time playthrough. I know I had to stop and farm for levels a few times because I was just getting my butt kicked in the later nighttime stage levels. After getting the story-related trophies, I worked on Ace Pilot. Clear Act 1 of Tornado Defense without taking any damage. This trophy can be a little bit troubling, but it's actually not too bad. There's not really much strategy. All you really have to worry about is the projectiles coming towards you. Prioritize those before handling the enemies. And same goes for the Egg Cauldron boss fight at the end. Focus on taking out the projectiles before damaging the boss. It'll take a few tries, but you should be able to do it no problem. Next, I took on Blue Meteor and Speeding Ticket. These two trophies require you to beat Windmill Isle Act 2 in 2 minutes and 35 seconds, which isn't too bad, and Arid Sands Act 1 in 2 minutes and 50 seconds. This one is much tougher in my opinion. This one took me a lot longer to beat. The best piece of advice I can give you is take the top path all the way through. If at any point you fall to the lower path, just reset. It's just all about practice and sticking to that top path and boosting as much as you can. Next, I tackled the Sun and Moon medals. You need 400 medals in total, but you do get a decent amount of them just throughout your initial playthrough. Just use a video guide if you're having any troubles finding any of them. That's what I did. Some can be in annoying places, but honestly it's not that bad. Some of them are also tied behind side mission stages. We'll talk about that later, but honestly, collectibles, I've never really had an issue with them, especially since most collectibles have video guides now, so honestly, follow a video guide, no issue. Next thing I did was max out Sonic's and the Werehog stats to max. You get XP through enemies dropping these yellow diamonds. The best way to get more XP is simply buying food and giving it to Sonic. This method is boring, but it is the easiest. And on your way to maxing up the levels, you'll get 6 more trophies. 2 for max level on Sonic and the Werehog, and 4 for reaching level 5, 10, 15, and 20 on combat level. There is a trophy for talking to every person in each continent. Best to save this after beating the main story, as there's some people that spawn later. You need to perform exorcisms on people for another trophy, but it's really only a few people at night. You can find them by simply talking to them, and you'll see little ghosts above their heads. You'll be asked to take a picture, then fight some enemies. Nothing too complicated. Then there's side missions. Really, there's only 2 trophies for side missions. 1 trophy for doing all of a person's side missions, and another 2 trophies, I believe, for a specific person in Spagonia. But I ended up doing all of them because you need Sun and Moon medals, and some of these Sun and Moon medals are in side missions. So my best advice, just do all the side missions, you won't miss anything. Another easy trophy to do is become best friends with Chip. All you need to do is feed him a bunch of sundaes and he'll pop up. I think it's like 10. It's really easy. You buy them at the first World Hub, I believe. Speaking of food, you need to buy one type of each food. Each world has a shop that you can buy food from. Two things to note though, that there are foods tied to the hot dog missions that we will get into later. And there is an NPC named Wentos who appears randomly in different areas of the world and has different items each time. Wentos also sells souvenirs that you need as well. Thankfully, Professor Pickle has listed what people you have spoken to and what souvenirs that you've given him, so you can actually easily keep track of this, thankfully. Another 3 easy trophies that you probably already have at this point are Combo King, which is get 10,000 combos, Ringleader, collect 5,000 rings, and Knockout Brawler, defeat 1,000 enemies. Very easy stuff. And finally, the toughest part of the game, the hot dog missions. Each world has a hot dog stand that gives you a mission for both daytime and nighttime stages. Each daytime stage has a time trial, a battle trial, and a ring trial, each with 3 levels of difficulty for a total of 9 missions per daytime stage. The nighttime stages have 2 missions, a survival and a time trial, with 3 levels of difficulty for a total of 6 missions. And finally, Eggman Land that only has time trial missions but 3 levels of difficulty. Completing these hot dog missions will get you a total of 8 more trophies. Hopefully those will be the last ones for you. You need to clear all the missions in one world to get one of these trophies. And it starts off fine, nothing too difficult with the first few worlds, however, that changes quickly. The biggest issues with these missions is that you need to beat them without dying. Checkpoints are completely useless here. If you die, you start from the beginning. Even if you clear the requirements for a different mission, it does not stack for you. You need to do each mission. So, for example, let's say you're doing the ring trials. The first mission requires 100 rings, the second mission requires 200 rings, and the third mission requires 300 rings. Let's say you finish mission 1 with 350 rings. You will only get credit for the first mission, not the other 2. Meaning, at the minimum, you have to play each daytime stage 9 times and each nighttime stage 6 times, assuming you beat these on your first attempt. It's a doozy. Like I said at the beginning, the first few worlds aren't too bad. I think where I really started struggling was Empire City, daytime and nighttime. I was just not getting what I needed to. I wasn't fast enough. I was constantly dying at the nighttime part with the beams that fall, and then the beams that have spikes on them, and then the beams that have spikes and fall. That's where the difficulty ramped up for me. The best piece of advice I can give you for these hot dog missions is look up speedrun tactics for these stages and practice. Practice, practice, practice. That's all it is. Unfortunately, I know some people want to have a quick and easy way to do them. Honestly, there is some viable speedrun strats. I know for Shamar nighttime stages, I was able to duplicate that speedrun. However, there was other stages, specifically Eggman Land, where I cannot duplicate the same results as they did on the speedruns videos. And Eggman Land is by far the worst. Thankfully, there's only 3 time trial missions, and they're very generous with the time. However, that's not the problem. The problem is beating the stage in one go, in one life. And there's many areas that can kill you. Honestly, I tried some speedrun tacks. I couldn't get them to work for most of the time. However, what did work for me is finding out you can skip a lot of the nighttime fights. There are a lot of the nighttime places that you can just run past the enemies and continue on the level. This is true with all the nighttime stages. And that's pretty much what I used to get through them. And that's what I did for Eggman Land. Unfortunately, for the rest of Eggman Land, I simply just took my time. I took it very slowly, and you know, with time, I finally beat the first one. It took me hours and hours to do it, but I did it. And then a couple of hours later, I was able to get the second hot dog mission done for Eggman Land. And maybe an hour after getting the second one done, I got the third one done, and it felt so good. It was such a relief. But that's the best advice I can give you for Eggman Land. Just practice it, take your time. I couldn't duplicate the shortcut method on the lava room area. I just took the long way, and honestly, it's just practice. I know I've said it before, but that's the best way I can describe it. Find out which enemies you can skip and just take your time. That's all it is. And if you don't believe me, just take a look at the video. This is gameplay footage that I captured after I got the platinum trophy. As you can tell, I've been struggling here at the beginning of Eggman Land, and you're supposed to beat this stage in one go. So while very difficult, with patience and practice, it is doable. Overall, a tough platinum challenge. Almost all the way through, to be honest. There are some easy trophies, but even like the first initial playthrough, like, was tough. Like, the amount of times I was frustrated with enemies in the nighttime stages, the amount of times that I would die to platforming just sucking, it was a struggle for sure. I didn't have an issue with stuff like the Sun and Moon medals, collecting them, because I've been trophy hunting for a long time now, so collectibles aren't really an issue for me. Same with like the leveling up, same with like the miscellaneous stuff, like defeat 1,000 enemies, collect 5,000 rings. That's not an issue either. Other than that, maybe a couple of sun medals and moon medals might be a little bit annoying, just because they're tied to side missions, and the townspeople give you side missions, but because there's no real good way to keep track of these missions, you end up talking to people multiple times over and over in hopes to get a side mission started. So in that regard, it can be a little bit annoying, but you know, it is doable. It takes a lot of patience though, to be honest. There you go, platinum trophy sitting at a 0.6% completed. There you have the story related stuff, Sun and Moon medal trophies as well, upgrading Sonic's to max level, and the Werehog as well. Again, just overall really challenging platinum. There's another one for getting an S rank for the first time as daytime Sonic, and one for the nighttime stages as well. I personally wouldn't recommend you going for this one. It's just really tough, especially if you're new to trophy hunting. I would definitely stay away from it. If you're a veteran trophy hunter, I mean, there is worse platinum trophy hunts and harder stuff. So if you do want a challenge, you can do this one. It is possible. Thankfully, there's no online stuff, no missable stuff, I believe. So that's at least good, right? But you know, it is a doozy of a platinum, and it's, be warned that you might be in for a rough ride with those hot dog missions. But I'm very glad I was able to do this one. It was on my radar for a long time. I just didn't think I had it in me to complete it, but thankfully I proved myself wrong. I was able to do it, and I'm real proud of that. And that's it for me for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you liked it, leave a like. If you disliked it, dislike it. Leave a comment. Check out my other videos on my YouTube. And I also stream on Twitch TV under the same name. So I hope to catch you guys real soon. Hopefully I'll be able to get a new video out next month. But as you can see, This one took me a while to get out, so hopefully I'm not as lazy to get the new one out. Have yourselves an awesome night. Take care. Peace.